Okay, I'm going to call us back into order. We met earlier to discuss the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public official in executive session. We are coming back to order now. Jenny, will you call the roll?
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Present.
Mr. Parnell?
Here.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Here.
Mr. Dibble?
Here, will you rise and join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Todd.
Second.
Thank you, Julie. Jenny, will you call the roll?
Mr. Parnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes.
And Mr. Dibble?
Yes. Board President's comments. I don't, you might have planned on talking about this too, but this weekend, I live over by East, so I lost power on Saturday. And eventually it occurred to me that I live by East, and I started seeing people wandering around in very nice clothing, and I said, homecoming, East. Oh no, I hope they have power. And lo and behold, they did not have power, and I was extremely impressed with our community, really, our leadership, our community, pulling together and making it a very memorable evening for our East kids out on the football field. I think, you know, the staff all came together, the community came together. Westchester sent up a generator so they had some light. I guess the boosters came up and opened up the snack bar so that they could get drinks, and I think it was a great, I'm sure it is the most memorable evening that they are going to have in the world of homecoming. So, you know, when you think of it as a business problem, and you think about, oh my gosh, their entire project plan got blown out, 2 hours before the entire thing started, and to reinvent that entire thing, it was amazing that it actually worked, and it seems to have worked well. And of course, kudos to the students as well, because you know, certainly they could have been not nearly as cooperative about it, and I think it worked really well all around. So I'm very proud of what our district and our community can pull together and do. So with that, Matt, you are up.
Thank you, and I couldn't say it better about East as well, so thank you for mentioning that. I want to take just a few minutes tonight going over some slides on our local report card that just came out from the Ohio Department of Education that gives us a snapshot, but I wanted to give an overview of what I thought were some of the highlights of things as we move forward as a district, but also, I don't want to be in anybody's way, but also some great gains that our kids made, due in fact to our teachers and to our parents. So one of the things that the state changed and tweaked with the report card, and I have a whole speech on the validity of the report card. I'm not going to go into that tonight, I'm just going to point out some of the highlights. But one of the things you look at is value added, so where our students go from one year to the next in terms of the progress that they made, not so much the end score, but the overall growth. And we got a solid A overall, but also in gifted, and our lowest 20% also. In achievement, our one of our lowest populations, and also our students with disabilities. So we're very proud of that fact that our component grade in these areas stays in A, which says a lot about Lakota schools. Our graduation rate, the component grade is still in A. The state gives us a grade for a 4-year grade and for a 5-year grade, so we just missed being in A also for students in the 5-year gap. But again, our component grade remains an A. 80%, and I thought this was pretty impressive, 80% of our kids are pursuing higher education of our grads, so that says a lot again about our district and about our community. And another thing that is also really important is 46 of our kids are serving their country in the armed forces, which I think is really high and something I think we should tout when we talk about the 3 E's of employed, enrolled, or enlisted. K-3 literacy, one of the things that I think a lot of us noticed was the state of Ohio about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, changed how we scored students in our literacy initiatives. It's also the third grade reading guarantee plays a part of this as well. And so when you look at where our kids were at, the only thing I really think that this did for our district is we had to send notifications home to parents, but we were always providing the resources for our struggling readers. It didn't change in terms of what we were doing for kids. What did change was sort of our laser focus in the K-3 literacy. So at this time last year, we were sitting at an F, was where we were at. And by no means were we, or will we be an F district, but we made huge gains going from F to a B in K-3 literacy. So I give tons of credit for that happening to our teaching staff, to our curriculum department, and our data specialists for making that happen. But I did want to point that out. That was the best gain that we saw as a district. Gap closing is a C. Went from an F, again it was an F this time last year, to a C. But again, everybody working together, knocking down some of those silos, raised our level of achievement. The achievement grade, I'm going to go into a little bit of a disclaimer for this. So the state in previous years always looked at 75% as the cutoff, as the benchmark for passing, and they raised it to 80. So while we went from, we stayed at a C, our indicators changed slightly because of going from 75% cutoff to an 80% cutoff. We still have our high standards. If they would have stayed at 75% for the cutoff, we would be a B district in this area. So still a lot of growth, still a lot of gains. And then we were, in 3 of the indicators, we were 0.5% or less for making that benchmark at 80. Huge gains as a district. I don't know of another district in our area that made more gains than what Lakota did. They might be out there, but I don't know of them. In terms of prepared for success, our score remained a C. ACT participation went up from 72% to 75%. SAT participation did go down, but that's a smaller population, and I think that might just be a change in focus for some of the higher ed institutions. And our honors diploma remained at 22%. That's it. I wanted to give you just sort of an overview gloss of a lot of the important data. I will hand you sort of the drilled down version of the report card once our local report card, once our quality profile comes out. So we wanted to couple the local report card with our quality profile, which should be out in just a couple weeks. So we'll put those two pieces out together because I think it tells more of a complete picture about our school district. Any questions, comments, concerns?
We have a comparison to other districts.
Yep, I can get you that too. I think we look very, very favorably when you see that. And we're the highest achieving, if you will, school district in Butler County. But I also compare ourselves to other schools in the greater Cincinnati, greater Columbus, and greater Cleveland area that have demographics similar to Lakota. Get you that as well.
Do you need a copy of that too?
Sure. Yep. Be glad to get that to you.
One of the biggest things we were worried about last year was that, well, 2 of them, and you addressed that, was the gap closure. Because for a couple of years, we just seemed like we weren't making any gains in that. It seems like we made huge gains, I mean, tremendous gains. In the K-3 literacy component, at the first year, we were not tested because we didn't have enough kids that met that threshold. And then the second year after that, we got an F on that, and it just showed like we were not catching those kids that were coming in unprepared. But this right here is tremendous.
Yeah,
I mean, this is awesome.
Curriculum department, the teachers specifically did an awesome job. I will tell you too that I think that this report card is consistent with last year's report card in terms, aside from moving the bar up, of what they were looking at. But I'm telling you, I'm already hearing in Columbus they're going to change the report card again. So this time next year, I could be saying something else.
Something different.
But it's because of the conversations that are going on in Columbus. State School Board met last Monday, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and there was a lot of conversation about making, once again, massive changes to the report card. And so, yeah.
Teachers don't know what to expect.
Right.
But
That's
remember,
it's tough.
it's tough, But remember, during the community conversations, the last one thing that they were very proud of was special ed and the
Yep.
increase, the growth that they saw in special ed over there. I can't remember what school that was that we were there, but they just, which one was it?
Plains.
Was it Plains? I mean, they just rocked it this year, and they were saying it's because they had a chance for the ladies were coming over from the central office and working closely with them, and it made all the difference in the world. It seemed like we targeted a lot of it because before you came, Marlon Stiles was here, and he said in a meeting that we had here, he had a plan that was going to raise the bar, not raise the bar, but at least raise our scores in the K-3 literacy and the gap closure. And it looked like, he put it in place, but the teachers carried it out.
Yep.
That's what really counted. This is fantastic, though.
It really is.
Yeah, that worried me to death at K-3 literacy, and the old superintendent and I, we discussed that quite a bit, but this is great.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I heard when I came here was about that.
Yeah.
But, you look at that growth and improvement, it was just really good. It's really good for the kids. We still have areas that we need to shore up, so to speak. So.
But one of the
Trending in
things
the
that
right
you
direction, though.
Yeah, exactly.
one of the things that you mentioned during the community conversation is putting the appropriate amount of I don't know what you say, credit on the state report card, because there are a lot of things that are just kind of crazy with it, But when you see this kind of growth and the teacher sees this kind of growth, it really gives them that incentive to say, yeah, this is really working. Let's keep trying or even experiment with some other things. Since we experimented with this and it seems to be working, let's continue that.
Right.
So it seems like they're getting all, that's a good thing.
That is
It's
a
one
good
of the best things about the report card. Yeah,
For
keep
me,
up.
I know I had some concern after last year we blew out the progress numbers. And
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's what you have the most control over, because that's how much you grew that child in a
Right,
year. And I know
right,
we blew
right.
those numbers out last year. So I must say, I had some concern this year if we'd be able to repeat that, because since we had such high numbers the prior year and got all A's, if we'd be able to do that again. So I was really pleased when we got those numbers and we were able to get all A's
Yep.
and that particular component again.
And one of the things you look at too, and you just brought this up, was the performance piece. And when you look at the performance index overall, we're continuing that upward trend, and that's something that you kind of like a constant that you point your finger at and see where you're going.
Yeah, with that progress piece, I was really glad to see. And if anybody, I pulled it up online, we can all pull it up here, but you can drill down on any of these numbers as well if you want to pull it up.
Yeah, I'll print it out though for everybody so they have
But
a hard
then-
copy.
But you can still get online and kind of drill into any of the specific subcomponents if you'd like to online.
And they did it the hard way too, in the honest way. I know I was talking with the special ed ladies, and Andrea, they called me, they told me I could come over and bug them for a while, and they were showing me how some districts tweak their numbers for special ed, and you get a higher score if you do the right things. Allow them to bring in their own tutors and sit right beside them and everything, and then warehouse certain kids in different areas. And we didn't do that, because every one of those kids, those are mom's kids here.
Right.
We're looking out for them. So we did it the right way and the hard way. And sometimes it's not the easy way, but it shows that these teachers and administrators were working hard trying to make this thing happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
Yep. I'll send that though, Todd. I'll put it out to the
Thank
board
you.
tonight, sure. I just have a couple other things if that's okay. You're right about East, and that was amazing. So kudos to all the efforts there. I did want to mention, last week I also sat in on a meeting with the state superintendent, talking about a lot of the report card issues that we're dealing with, and also had good meetings today with administration, but also LEA and LSSA. So we had our first sessions this year. Excuse me. Went very, very well, I thought. A couple things we need to work on, but we're always going to have things we need to work on. So anyway, that's it.
Okay, Jenny.
Just to piggyback on what we were just talking about with the state report card, and I know Matt mentioned the quality profile, but I'm looking forward to seeing that because I know we've got this at our chair. And kudos to our communications department. I think it's important that we continue to tell our story and that we don't just rely on the State Department's report card and that quality profile that's going to come out in a few weeks. I think it's going to be an important piece. So I just wanted to say kudos, job well done, and we will continue to see that. And tonight, I will be asking for your approval of permanent appropriations. What that means, that's just a fancy way of saying that we're going to be finalizing our budget for this year. So I'll be bringing that to you as well. One of the things that I think it's important to, when we talk about communications, to communicate about our financial picture. We are in a stable place. We are in a much better financial situation than I have seen since I walked in the door. And when we talk about the 5-year forecast next month, we'll be able to talk about that a little bit more. But anytime you hear rumors, it's always good to dispel rumors. I did hear a rumor that we were going to be on the ballot next year for operating funds with a levy. That is not true. We have no need for an operating levy for next year. We will not, the superintendent and myself, will not be asking this Board of Education to go on the ballot next year for operating funds. So I just wanted to say that publicly. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we go on to public student spotlight.
Public student.
Yeah, no public students tonight.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Miller, and Mrs. Logan. Tonight's Student Spotlight features 5 seniors from Lakota East High School. Mrs. Davis is unable to attend this evening, but thank you for being here. Hannah Beals, Zach Demler, Richard Chang, Anna Hendricks, and Joe Slansky are our seniors tonight. When planning professional development sessions for her staff on in-service days prior to the start of the school year, Mrs. Davis thought that a session on how to use Twitter would be useful given the social media push in the district. But instead of teaching the session herself, she decided to reach out to these students to see if they would be interested in teaching the teachers, and they were. The session was such a success that 2 sessions for the Lakota community were planned. And when a tweet went out during the first community session, Mrs. French, the principal at Hopewell Elementary School, reached out to the students to see if they would be willing to come to Hopewell and teach their staff. So, word about the Twitter classes has gone viral, so to speak, in our district. And with the support of their families, Hannah, Zach, Richard, Anna, and Joe have hit the road on their Twitter tour. So, at your seats, you have 2 handouts from the classes that everybody received. And I'm now going to hand it over to the experts to talk to you about Twitter.
Hi, so my name is Joe Slansky, and we decided to do this because, like Mrs. Fuller said, East teachers and staff members wanted to learn more about Twitter and ways to use it since there was a big push in our schools for it. And Mrs. Davis asked us to help, so we got a students to lead. And if you look back here, I have a little examples of kind of what we did. So first we talked about what Twitter was and why it was important, and we talked about that it was this place that you could interact with anyone, anywhere, and it's a really good place to find out information quickly, which is really important for teachers communicating with the students and teachers so that we can find out if we have a question about a test or homework or something like that, something going on in our classes. And it's also a great way to find out information about stuff going on in the district. We also talked about the basic features like following people and what it means to like and retweet tweets and the different types. And we talked about replying and mentions, and also talked about hashtags. We introduced the teachers and community members into certain Twitter accounts like @EastTalks, which is Lakota East's, Lakota District, Lakota Super. And we talked about the hashtags, #WeAreLakota and Eastside Pride. And also talked about our township Twitter accounts, Westchester and Liberty Township. And we also talked about other cool features that teachers can use, and even members of the community, like Twitter polls, where you can ask your followers questions and they can get back to you, and turning on notifications. We explained how to set up a profile and different list features. So at these meetings, or at these like teaching sessions, we would teach the teachers or the staff or the community, and then afterwards we would let them ask us questions, and we would help them set up accounts, which was kind of hard because it was open to anybody. So it could be somebody who had never used Twitter before and had no idea how to do anything, and didn't even have the app downloaded on their phone, so we would have to help them completely set everything up. Or it could be somebody who had been using Twitter before and wanted to learn more advanced features. So the experience level was kind of difficult, and also we never knew how many people we were going to get. So one night it could be 4 of us helping 2 people, or it could be 4 of us helping 20 people. So that was one of the issues we had to work out. We had a lot of fun teaching, and we learned some stuff too about Twitter that we didn't know. And eventually, like Mrs. Fuller said, other teachers saw it and eventually found out, so we got to go to other schools in the community and work with parents and also work with elementary teachers, which was different because the audience that the high school teachers are working with is obviously different than the elementary school teachers. So we had to dynamically change what we were presenting. So yeah, that was our Twitter sessions.
The teachers they asked different questions, is that what you meant?
Yeah, so some teachers had been using Twitter before, so we got
Okay.
more like advanced questions about advanced features.
Mm.
But some teachers had never used it before, so we had to walk them through how to set up their account and help them make their account and teach them how to use it and stuff like that.
I bet the elementary school teachers didn't use it very much, right? Were
Yeah,
they the
they-
least experienced, would you say?
The ones that we had, at least the session that I led, the teachers kind of had a grasp on it,
Mm.
but it seemed like at the elementary school they were more sharing about what was going on in their classroom, more with parents, where at the high school they were sharing more with like the students and interacting with the students.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, can you mention your proposal that you put
Oh.
forth?
So on, I think it's October 16th, the day that we don't have school, is the Lakota Professional Development Day, and we have a proposal to lead a Twitter session at the Professional Development Day.
Oh, that's
For the staff on their day off.
So I went to your class, and I appreciated learning. I learned about lists, which I didn't know. And on Friday night, or Saturday night, I learned on Twitter, about the power outage, and I think I replied to the tweet appropriately and responded back and used the We Are Lakota Twitter
Hashtag.
the hashtag appropriately. So I think I responded appropriately with part of your knowledge, but I love the list thing, and it's cleaned up my Twitter feed immensely. So now Twitter used to drive me crazy because I could never find anything that I wanted to see because it had too much that I didn't want to see. So I really appreciated the class, and it's made it much more enjoyable for me. So thank you for spending your time and knowledge. So
I got a
What
question.
what is the list thing? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
that's what I was going to ask.
Is that just
Maybe we need a
categorizing?
board session, guys.
yeah.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. When you do the Wednesday night Twitter chat, right? Is that stored any place? Can you look at old Twitter chats? Is it stored someplace you could go back?
If you search on Twitter, if you search for the hashtag Lakota EdChat, you can see all the past ones there.
In order of the way they tweeted or tweeted?
Yeah, it'll be
thing.
in chronological order.
It will be? Okay.
We are working on something called Storify, so we can capture those sessions, so that we can
Right.
still do that even though we're past that day.
Then the teachers can go back and, well, they could do it now, but they would
Yeah.
have to step through everything.
Right. So we're working on that. There's a couple different apps to do that.
How did you gain all the knowledge you have around Twitter?
Just basically by being a high school student that uses Twitter. We just kind of use it on
You
our
teach
own.
each other,
Yeah.
and you just get on there and just.
At the end of the class, they were kind of learning from each other. It was kind of interesting to watch them sort of be like, hey, how do you do this? And,
No fear.
yeah.
That helps.
The other thing that Joe probably won't mention, but I will on the group's behalf, is Joe's actually going to lead one of our staff Twitter chats in November, right? So we're going to have a student
cool.
lead our staff Twitter chat. So we're looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. So we'll talk about that later.
It almost sounds like we need a glossary list from you all, since we obviously don't speak Twitterese very well. And it's clear that it's really unfamiliar language for us. And I'm just wondering if we could do the call a friend thing with you guys. Seriously.
On one of the sheets, not the one with the Twitter logo on it, the other one, there's some of the terms I just wanted on there.
But it sounds like even now with this in front of us, we're still not using the correct terms. So maybe you could help us with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I also attended one of the evening sessions for the community, and it was one, I kind of thought this, I hope that I can learn things on, go in, watch a YouTube or two, and then kind of wing it, and I didn't break my phone yet, so apparently it works, but I learned quite a number of things from you guys as well. And it was fascinating to see. I always consider the hardest thing to do is when you have a class of expert and doesn't even qualify as novice in the same spot, and you somehow have to present in that middle realm that you're not over the head and not, and you guys did a really good job, and the fact that you were willing to go out and literally sit down next to people and work through learning things was huge. I mean, because that's, as we grow more grown up, sometimes it takes having, someone sit down next to us and help us through learning that, and you were much nicer than some of our children would have been. And probably with your parents out there, you were probably much nicer to us than you are to your parents, because you never called us stupid or anything else. Our children sometimes, that roll of the eye, like, oh my God, Dad, come on. So I really appreciate what you've done for the teachers as well as for the community. I mean, it's one thing to understand it, it's a whole nother level to bring it out and teach to your teachers. I mean, that's amazing that you were able to do that and continue to do that at other levels, which is great. And then to pull it out and bring it to the community and let those, it's one of those many tools that are out there for the world. And, if you're not willing to take that chance and go out and find out, I mean, in my group anyhow, people said, why would I use this? And you came up with good reasons why to use it, and then taught people how to utilize it. So I really appreciate you guys stepping up, and certainly the maturity you showed was amazing. I know, I think back to myself as a junior, senior in high school, and there's no way I would have been able to do that. But
And the extra time that's involved for these guys to do all that's amazing.
yeah.
When they have so many other things going on.
Yeah. Good. Any other questions from this side of the table?
Yeah, where do you find this list thing?
There's 3 dots in the corner.
Board session. Board session.
Ah, gotcha, okay.
I'm there for him. I went to the class.
Thank you, guys.
So
You might wanna
thank you.
set
Come
one
on
of
up.
those
We're
up
going
for
to take
us.
a picture, and I have
Set up
We Are
session for
Lakota
us.
shirts for you, as well as some certificates.
Wonderful prizes.
You guys have to go center stage. Center stage, yep.
Okay, sure. Okay. So here's a shirt, here's a shirt, here's a shirt, and a shirt. Thank you. And we'll get these to you after we have the pictures, so we hold everybody out here. Many photographs.
Thanks for being here.
Anna? Zachary? And?
Just for you.
Thank you. Thank you guys, you're doing a great job.
We're going to let these guys go home. Thank you very much.
I can count the garage.
In person, to be groups of people.
Like different followers.
Yeah, well, I
Or, I
like,
mean, people I'm following.
Yeah.
So I don't get gunked up with a
yeah,
million.
so I like have all my news stuff under one list, stuff like that. Back to business. We are on Twitter class up here. Okay, now I've lost my agenda underneath my Twitter.
Public comment.
Public comment. Do we have anybody who would like to come up and address the board? Seeing no one, thank you. Board reports. Board Policy Committee, we have a first reading emergency approval.
This is the one dealing with attendance and truancy that I'd asked for emergency approval for tonight. Just, we're not having that first October meeting. And this has been essentially the practice we've been following this year anyway, and it's more of a compliance item.
So Neola just came out with the policy, so it was a change in the law, but Neola had caught up with the new policy, so they just got us the policy. So we'd like to just do a first and a second read and approve it tonight.
Perfect.
How does this impact us in terms of the practice?
That's what
I know we don't have a high truancy rate, but
we don't, and it's something that ODE's been working on and the legislators have been working on for a little while, but essentially it's what we're doing now. So it'd be good for us just to have in terms of our policy.
there is still an issue, I think, is legislatively, there's an issue with this in terms of even if they're excused absences, it can still throw a child into a chronically truant situation.
Correct, and we're working really hard right now on the communication piece to parents so they understand that it's coming from the state and not from us. I would anticipate, I could be wrong, this is just me speculating, but an additional or a cleanup policy to this one, 6 months down the road.
If there's change at the legislative level.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope
Or
there's
they
enough
hear too
pushback.
much, correct, there'll be pushback because of this and it'll be altered.
Okay.
So we are trying to be proactive in what we're sending out to say that this is not something that we're doing.
Right.
I actually suggested that when we
Yeah.
talked about it in legislative. This is not going to be pretty.
Right, to say that we understand that this is, because it could be somebody who's had an improved, we talked about that it could be somebody who has an improved absence, perhaps it's like a gymnastic situation. They have to, they're leaving 2 hours early because they have a sports situation. Or we said it could be a situation where, you know, we know that they're out because it's a funeral situation, you know. It's
Even college
really-
visits count,
Right,
count against them.
Right. So it's really unfortunate the way the policy is, the way the law is written, which we then have to comply via policy.
Any questions on that? None? Okay. Butler Tech, Ray.
We need to
We
get a
took,
motion
we're
on that.
going to do emergency.
Oh, are we, do it now? Yeah.
Okay.
So do we
You
have
didn't put it
a
under
motion to approve
Board report.
policy number 5200?
So moved?
Thank you, Jules.
Second.
Thank you, Todd. Any discussion? Jenny, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Dibble?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now, Ray, Butler Tech.
Butler Tech. We took 12 students up to the State House last week, and they were honored by State Representative Candace Keller. These are the 12 kids that invented this HoloLens for mixed reality, where you can see your reality right here, see the landscape, but there would be certain things that you could put in there. And what it's trying to do is, because they've learned that kids that take that experiment with some of the games tend to sit well and take tests a little bit better. But this particular one was they answered a challenge, and I think it was the Samsung Solve Challenge. And it was to solve a problem of test taking. So they had an entire test that the kids can take by virtual reality, and that means you'd have to walk around the whole room to do it. It was a lot of fun to see some of the folks up there in Columbus as they did that. And they were on the floor of the House. State Candace Keller enjoyed it immensely, treated them to dinner and lunch, and had a great time. Had a great time with those kids. And the only other thing to remember, I guess, is our all boards meeting. If you have an RSVP, let them know that you'll be there on the 10th.
Sounds good. And that's the normal place, at the same location?
Same location as last year.
Sounds good. Thank you. Community engagement.
We've been still having our great community conversations. We had Shawnee in Plains this past week. We have Liberty Junior the 27th, Endeavor the 28th, Central Office the 2nd at 10 and 2, Liberty Early Childhood Center, or Early Childhood School the 3rd. And then our first broader community one is the Chamber Young Professionals Group is the 4th at 11:30. And then the coffee chats, we have, the next one is 10/4 from 2 to 3 at Coffee Beans and Brew. And then we rescheduled the November one for November 8th from 8 to 9, also at Coffee Beans and Brew.
Did you say there was one on the 4th?
The 4th of October.
That's the chamber, did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry, with the coffee, there's one on 10/4, there's both.
Okay.
There's a community conversation with the chamber at 11:30
Okay.
with the young professionals, the chamber's young professional group. And then there's also a superintendent's coffee chat from 2 to 3 that day.
On that day. And it'll be at the chamber's office then?
The coffee chat is at Coffee Beans and Brew. The chamber community conversation is at the chamber's office.
Thank you very much.
So we're continuing
And
to
the one at
get
the chamber
great-
is what time?
Which,
The chamber.
the chamber one is at 11:30 on the 4th.
I'll put
Why don't we
reminders
send out
out.
an email
Yeah.
so
I'll
everybody
put
has
out
those
reminders.
dates in
Thank
front
you.
of them?
You've already received an email from Randy on those, so,
Probably worth another one.
okay. So we've been continuing to get great feedback from the staff and all the community conversations. Each one has a little bit different flavor and different passion. And
Yeah.
again, you're getting notes on all of those if you haven't been able to attend. And we appreciate the great feedback and passion that everybody's had and great attendance at those. So
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, and the teachers stay late. I mean, right after school, they don't leave, and we want to be able to talk to the superintendent and give them their ideas and everything. And every building's different, just a little bit different, though. I do notice a couple of trends starting to develop in there, but by and large, they have their own personality and almost culture within the building, too.
Started having follow-up meetings with, like a teacher will email after the fact. So
Oh, really?
starting to have some follow-up meetings with some of the staff already too. So positive still. but
Great, great.
Sometimes they think of other things.
Thank you. DPC.
we had a good meeting on the 13th. The focus was safety and security. Rob Fogelman went over that. Matt introduced the entire executive team, which went over well. It was one of the things they talked about was that with safety and security, you go beyond just what people traditionally think about. And they talked about that they had just done a safety and security plan for what happened if there had been like a gas cloud. And it was like, what? Oh, not even a week later that there was the gas cloud over in Mason. I thought that was rather ironic.
We didn't have anything to do with it.
You know, that just here they had talked about that we even planned for something like, what if one had been emitted from a train or something, and they had just done training on that when that happened in Mason. So anyway, it's just saying that you really have to contingency plan for anything, and then that did happen. One of the things with District Parent Council is that there's an opportunity for people to bring in DPC clarifications or questions. And a question was brought in regarding food services. And with our food services, as you all know, it's self-sustaining. And so with that, there's that balance of if you have a child who's not on a free and reduced lunch, but might be forgetting to replenish their lunch account, what happens with those students? And so we talked about the policy, but then there was some discussion about the issue, which has become a national issue of food shaming and what you do and how it's handled in each building. And so there was a good discussion and some ideas that were brought forward. And within a week, I heard feedback from particular school buildings that that issue had been addressed and already fixed. So that was great responsiveness and really appreciated. Within just, again, anecdotally, I heard that, somebody's kid was like, wow, Mom, there's a new choice. You can get a cheese sandwich, because that had been just a choice for those who had a negative balance, and now it's a choice for anybody. So it's no longer clear that it's just those kids who might have a negative balance. So I thought that was a great quick reaction and quick response based on that
That's
conversation that came up in DPC. So, just a parent had said to me, they knew they'd been in on the conversation, and their kid had no idea. The kid came home and was like, I'm going to be getting this cheese sandwich
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
The kid was all excited. But really appreciated that quick response that the staff had jumped right on. So thought that was, again, a great use of district parent council, of a way to have a good conversation and instant response. So appreciated that.
Thank you.
Would you call it food shaming? Is that what it is?
That's sort of been the,
I had no idea that the kids used to call it the poor kid's meal. Did you ever hear that? Some kids told me about that. I did not know that. Cheese sandwich. So now it's on the menu then, right?
that's my
That's great.
understanding of what happened.
That's the way to do it.
Legislative,
Nothing to report this evening.
are you on vacation up there? Good.
Not too much, but real quick, just BASA, the superintendent organization, we had a legislative meeting last week. Not anything big coming out of Columbus, but a lot of little, I would call them little now, minor things right now. One of the things I just thought that was interesting that I had not heard about before was, and again, it's just conversation, is letting students use computer science in place of a graduation requirement in math or science. So I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure that'll get legs, but that was one that I thought was interesting. So I just wanted to share that.
Interesting, thank you. Anything from your side of the world, Jenny?
No, I sit on legislative committee for the Alliance. We had our first meeting and we talked about things, but nothing big coming to the top. It's more about what's everybody hearing? How is this state budget impacting you now that it's actually here? So nothing too big to report now.
Sometimes that's not bad. Okay, I don't think we have anything on diversity committee tonight. Anything? Diversity?
No,
Okay.
Have we set a meeting date?
no.
Aisha and I started talking about some things, so
Oh, good.
I'll try to get
Good.
some, at our next meeting, some feedback.
Sounds good, thank you. Okay, we have one board action item on here. We have item A, approve renewal of treasurer's contract with Jenny L. Logan, the famous, with her tiara and all. I have a motion to approve item A in board action items.
So moved.
Thank you, Ray.
Second?
Thank you, Julie. Do we have any discussion?
The board would like to take action on extending Jenny's contract because we've been pleased with her performance and don't want anyone to take our treasurer of the year and move her to a different district. So
Yeah.
we're choosing to take action at this time and vote on
One of
extending
the
her
best things that's
contract.
happened to this district. You are.
Hey, Jenny, call the roll.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Dibble?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We're very lucky to
Thank
have.
you.
So we got her for 5 more years.
5 more
All right.
Good. Excellent. Well, that's very good to have done.
Yep.
Um,
Have it done.
We have treasurer's recommendations. We have item A, which is approval of board minutes. B is the financial reports from August. C is an amended certificate of estimated resources and permanent appropriations for fiscal year 18. And then an agreement with National Web Check Program and Services and Equipment. Jenny, can you Some of this is boilerplate, but two of them are new.
Yeah, there's a lot of information here. So boilerplate, our minutes, and our monthly financial reports. What's different is, and I mentioned this at the beginning, is we need to approve our permanent appropriations, our final budget for fiscal year 2018. The amended certificate of estimated resources is basically the guardrails. So what that estimated resources does is it takes what your cash balance was at the beginning of the year, what you're estimating your resources, your revenues to be, adds them together and says you can't spend more than this amount. So it sets the guardrails, and then you approve your budget, and it has to be within there. Just a few facts about our budget. So all funds is right at 200 million. So this is a large district, and that's been a pretty consistent dollar amount. It was larger than that when I came in, but it's consistently remained about 200 million. Your general fund makes up 80% of all appropriations, and it's right at 160 million. For salaries and benefits, this is one of the other questions that we get asked a lot. How much of your budget goes towards salaries and benefits? All funds, it's right at 63%. For the general fund, 72%. It was above that when I came in consistently every year. It seems to go down by about 1%, but it's 72%.
How is that comparing to other similar districts?
I will say that's low. And I can give you data to support that, but it's usually right around 80, if not more.
That's what I thought.
So if we're 75 or lower, that's a good figure. That's a good benchmark.
And it's not trending up, it's trending
No,
down.
it's trending down. Another thing to just note, in this district, our policy sets that we will approve appropriations at the fund and object level. And what I mean by object is when you look at our 5-year forecast, it's broken down by object. So in this district, we've tried to mirror that 5-year forecast and appropriations. So that means fund level, general fund, permanent improvements, food services, all your different grant funds, and then by object, salary, benefits, purchase services, supplies. So that's how we define and do our budgeting here. The agreement for National Web Check Program Services and Equipment, Mr. Kramer and I are asking for your approval there. This basically allows us to continue the work that we're doing in the HR department with fingerprinting. By policy, I can't approve an agreement that extends beyond 1 year. This agreement is for 3 years, and so it's time to renew that. And so that's why it's on the agenda tonight.
Sure.
No change to it, it's just time to renew it. And that's it. That's a lot.
Okay, I'm going to take the boilerplate ones first and get those out of the way. We do treasurer's items A and B. Do I have a motion for items A and B, which is the financial reports and the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Linda.
Seconded then.
Thank you. Jenny, will you call the roll?
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Parnell,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Dibble.
Yes. Can I have a motion for item C, the amended certificate of permanent appropriations?
So moved.
Thank you, Ray.
Second.
Thank you, Julie. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. Good. Will you call the roll?
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Parnell,
Yes.
Mr. Dibble.
Yes. And item D, agreement for the National Web Check Program. We have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Ray. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Julie. Any questions?
And the purpose of this is just for the background checks? That's the system we use?
Yes, this is the system that we use for fingerprinting in HR. Mhm.
You call the roll.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes?
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Mr. DeVault?
Yes. Keep thinking webs as in webbed fingers. Web
Yeah.
feet. It's
Yes.
not, but,
No, it's not. Thank
I
you.
mean, it sounds like something that should be check services, like financial checks, but no. Thank you, Jenny, and thank you for explaining those so clearly. So, got very few questions. Superintendent's recommendations, we have personnel items, field trip, and donations. Anything of interest in there?
No.
Pretty standard
Just
stuff.
pretty, yeah.
Excellent.
Probably the most vanilla I've had.
Attaboy. Do I have a motion for superintendent's items A, B, and C?
So moved.
Thank you, Julie. Do I have a second? Thank you,
second.
Ray. Any discussion? Lakota West Choir is going to Dayton and Chicago. Okay, Jenny, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes?
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Mr. DeVault?
Yes. Under closing comments, Matt, do you want to start us out?
Sure. You might notice we're a few administrators light tonight. There's a team, not just administrators, but some teaching staff as well and coaching staff that are in Indianapolis today and tomorrow. I'm going to join them tomorrow at the Future Ready Summit. So there's a Future Ready group that's tied in a little bit to the U.S. Department of Education that we are a part of. But also, Ohio announced today that we are now in a future-ready state with the Ohio Department of Education. So moving forward with technology, also looking at open educational resources. So the state's starting to look at this, and I'm glad we have a team from Lakota that's there, and there's a group from the Ohio Department of Education there as well. Tied into that just a little bit is we had last week in the district representatives from Apple and Microsoft that were talking about moving forward in terms of digital technology for our kids. So we're starting those conversations now. So I wanted to mention that to the group.
Thank you.
Sure.
Linda?
Just one comment on Jenny's clarification of the levy rumor. So it's not just a levy not on the ballot for next year, but not for many years to come, based on 5 years of a balanced budget, which is terrific news, and balance for the next 5 years as well. And that's wonderful news for the community.
Thank you. Julie?
I had the opportunity to go to the summer lunch program wrap-up meeting, and I think that is a great example of our private-public partnership. So that really started with some basically caring people. I remember running into them in Costco one day and like cartfuls of ham and Capri Suns, and I'm like, what are you doing? And they're basically like, we recognize that there's a need here, that these kids don't get lunch. And so it just started out with a group of people kind of banding together and going to some area developments where they knew that kids needed lunch, and it's turned into a partnership with the schools providing the lunch, and they provide some volunteers provide the resources to wrap around to help give these kids some nurturing and support. And so as we've taken over the lunch program, the volunteers now are providing more tutoring support and just games and nurturing really for these kids. Since we've taken the burden of the food, they've been able to take more of the fun part and the reading support and that piece. And we really have a lot of teachers who stepped up and helped. And in their wrap-up, they said they had over 700 volunteers who supported that program this summer, which was a 40% increase, and they clocked over 3,000 volunteer hours. So I thought that was really impressive and wanted to share those results with everybody. And again, they said a lot of that support does come from Lakota staff and families, so I just wanted to share that. And then secondly, I know a lot of our schools are doing walkathons this time of year, and I know a lot of them do that. I personally got to participate in endeavors this last week, and just that school alone raised over $20,000. My own son got to pie one of his teachers in the face. And again, the things our staff does in the name of fundraising and what they do in these schools. Some of the teachers raffled off a night, that they're going to take these kids out and have a night so the parents can go out and the kids are going to be there with them at school. And again, I think that's another great partnership of what they raised $20,000, but they raised it because people were willing to go above and beyond and make a really fun day for the kids and really step up. And there were 20 staff members who got pied in the face with their whipped cream that are dripping, and I'm sure smelled like sour milk not too long after that event. So just thank you to everybody who goes above and beyond for all the kids in our community.
Can I jump in for a moment?
Sure.
I just wanted to clarify that the summer lunch program actually started as an initiative of the Faith Alliance, which is a group of 20 churches that said these kids need some help and we really want to make that impact on Lakota students. So they were the ones who organized the first several summers and have spent a lot of time, the individual churches, providing volunteers. And as Julie said, originally they were providing lunches as well, but wanted to make sure we recognize the Faith Alliance role in that.
Excellent, thank you. Todd?
I don't have any comments, just a reminder. It's earlier than usual, but this Friday is the East-West game. And I believe it's at West this year.
Yes, and picture opportunity for the board at 6 at the gate, if you
Yep.
can make that happen.
Picture opportunity.
From what you're talking about, we'll help take the goods that are and put them into containers, correct? Isn't that which? We'll have a bus there. So
We have to
I wanted to
load
get
the
the
bus
official-
and have our pictures taken doing it?
actually, well, I don't know if we're going to load the bus, but I mean, we're going to put stuff in the bus. Some stuff in the bus, right? That's what, so if, she was telling me that if you're available, come on out Friday night
Perfect.
at West, then
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Then.
Sounds good.
Stuff
Anything
the
else?
bus.
No, it's it.
Thanks for reminding me about that. I was going to forget.
Hopefully.
Ray?
Supposed to drop.
Oh, that was a great report, by the way. I didn't know, I missed the final, when they got together and talked about the summer lunch program, because I was getting the emails during the summer, and I had no idea how many people were involved in it. Over 700 volunteers were involved in that. My goodness, and I think that is wonderful that they're doing, all that awesome work. And one of the things, thank you for everything that you do. It's great to hear that forecast and how you saved us so much money and put us on the right track. And I did hear that this district has not been in this financial situation before, as good a financial before, right? This situation is the best that you've seen since you've been here. Since you've been here, right?
I don't know about the history.
Right.
Long-term history.
But that's back in the day. You don't want to go back in the day, babe. But that's great that what you've been doing, and I'm glad that you're going to be with us for 5 more years. And just getting out into the schools with Matt and with the community conversation, that was a great idea that you guys came up with that. And the teachers are very responsive, and they just can't wait, and the things that they say are just great. I mean, they will bare their souls to tell you exactly what's going on there. So it's been a wonderful opportunity to meet with them and everything. And the state report card, I know that, like you mentioned to the teachers, you want to put the appropriate amount of stress on that state report card, but boy, it sure looks good. The growth that the teachers have got out of those kids sure looks good. So we'll celebrate that right now, and then we'll get ready for the changes, I guess, that are coming. That's it.
Thank you. Jenny?
I just want to extend a personal thank you. I am looking forward and happy to serve this district for another 5 years. I don't want to be anywhere else. And I feel like I found a home here at Lakota. And I'm looking forward to giving you grief.
Looking forward to taking it.
But honestly, Matt, I mean, one of the reasons why I am looking forward to the next 5 years is because you're going to be here. And we get to work together.
Likewise.
in partnership.
We
So
got a lot to do, and we're going to get a lot
She's still not
done.
giving you any money, though. You know
I
that.
know, I know.
we do. I mean, we've got an awesome team here. This
We got a lot of
board,
good things going on.
Working
Yeah.
with this board, the community, the leadership team here. It's just a great place to be. So So thank you.
I'm really glad the board did that, and selfishly, I'm glad too. So, congratulations. Mr. Dibble, before you go, just one other quick reminder for the board and for everybody else. We don't have a board meeting again until October 23rd.
Correct, yes.
So just as a reminder.
Yeah. But if someone wants to come and hang out on the 9th, they're welcome to. No one will be.
Ben will be
The
here.
doors will be locked, you'll be outside by yourself, but.
Yes.
But a lot of really good points here. It is fascinating the amount of time and effort our staff puts in. I noticed there was, I believe on Twitter, there was from Volley for the Cure, I believe our superintendent offered to teach someone's class to the high bidder.
Yeah, did you see how that worked out? So yeah, that was the auction item was I would take a class for them at West. And so through some maybe shenanigans, I heard that the science department was going to combine their auction offer, their bid, and so it would be all the science kids at once. And so, it gets better. And so I was there that night and it was I walked in and everyone told me it was going to be a big deal, but then until you walk in and see, oh my gosh, it's massive and all the different things. So probably about 15 minutes before the auction was up, said superintendent bid on his own item and outbid the science teachers. So I won. In more ways than one.
So you're not teaching,
I
and
am
you
not
had to pay
teaching a
money.
class. I paid money. Yes. Just because I thought they were trying to pull one over on me, I wanted to pull one over on them.
I'm thinking the redhead Bill Nye would have been fun to see.
Maybe, but I would have done it. But I just thought that was a good way to do it.
What, 5 science teachers?
Yeah, I would have. Yeah. So I was just laying all that out.
Yeah. And kind of on the Twitter theme here, there are Twitter chats that happen weekly in the staff, and I'm not quick enough to get into them. I just sit and watch, but this last one was about kind of the learning environment, and it was fascinating to me. And again, I guess I've never thought about it, but the amount of thought that goes into teachers figuring out where to put things in their classroom. It just amazes. I mean, again, you come from the generation of lines of seats. It's not terribly hard to arrange it, but these teachers are scientifically figuring out how to meet the needs of their kids best by arranging furniture and having tables versus chairs versus carpets versus, just all sorts of different things and what they put on the walls when. And it's like, wow.
And the other thing I'll say about that one last week was that was moderated by one of our teachers, Asha Ruiz, and that was the first time we've had that happen, and that was probably the best one we've had.
Yeah.
So
Some pretty outstanding people here in Lakota.
we do.
Yeah. And lastly, Jenny, it's wonderful to have you on here. I still clearly remember you interviewing, and there were 3 of us who were on at that time, and as you explained our appropriations there, I was thinking back on the question I asked you was explain a levy, and you sort of rolled your eyes like, come on, I have a board member who doesn't understand a levy, but explaining it so that the community understands what it really does is not that easy. And you did a great job doing that, and you've done a great job keeping us on course here. And I know the board feels very confident in the numbers you come up with and the forecasts and what you tell us we believe. And that's very important from our standpoint to be able to believe that. And I'm very glad you're going to be here for several more years. So thank you. With that, I would love to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Ray. Ready? Will you call the roll?
Mrs. O'Connor.
Yes?
Mr. Murray. Yes. Mr. Parnell.
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mr. DeVol.
Yes. Thank you.